Welcome everyone to Cash That Ticket Podcast here on the Straight Outta Vegas AM feed. Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Here to get into the NBA playoffs. Here on the Tuesday night card, 3 more game 2s happening on the NBA schedule. We'll break down each and every one of those. And of course, we'll get you guys a coupon code over for pregame.com. And we will, of course, give you guys best bets for this episode as well. But joining me, as always, gracious enough with his time to help me break everything down happening in the sporting world, is Uncle Diamond Dave Essler. Uncle Dave, how's it going, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing better than I was when I woke up. I had the Nuggets team total over last night, and I kind of counted that as a win, which we know is a huge mistake. And 21-point fourth quarter told me it was a loss. So I was kind of upset about that. But I also had the Royals game over with the Orioles, and it was 1-0 in the ninth, and it ended 7-5 in whatever it was, the 13th. So I'm kind of the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, brother.
You know what? That's just how sports betting goes sometimes. I'm not even gonna say sometimes. I think that's how it goes all the time, honestly. It was another, depending on the number that you got, I think a lot of people did get 231.5 for the Denver full game total. 64-64. I think it closed to 233.5, if I'm not mistaken. But 64-64 at the half, you're thinking you're well on your way towards cashing that over. But like you mentioned, fourth quarter, 21 points there scored by the Denver Nuggets. They do even up the series, 1 game apiece before they head back to Minnesota for games 3 and 4. As far as best bets did go last night, no juice off of our backs. We did end up going 1-1. Donovan Mitchell does get us to the window, going over 27.5 points. As far as Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers did score 12 last night in the fourth game of the series between the Rockies and the Dodgers. Unfortunately, Ohtani does not get the home run, but he was plus 230, I believe, to score. Or sorry, not to score, to hit a home run.
I was mentioned yesterday when I gave that out. I said the only thing that might hurt is because he's fared so well is that they walk him, right? Just pitch around him, and sure enough, he had 2 walks. So yeah, I mean, I knew at plus 230 or whatever it was, I knew it wasn't going to be a gift, but sure enough, I would have liked to have had him put the ball in play 2 more times, but such is life.
Yeah, and we'll turn the page there, but we've been having a pretty good month of April thus far, and I know we're gonna close it out strong for this month here, Uncle Dave. So we'll just keep it NBA heavy tonight, or on this episode, I should say, for the NBA card. So let's just dive right into it. We'll start here with your Boston Celtics, game 2, 7:10 Eastern start time. The Philadelphia 76ers, they are going to be taking on the Boston Celtics. Celtics are laying 14.5 points in this game with a total of 216.5. Injury report, the only one that is worth mentioning will be Joel Embiid, who is still out, recovering from the appendicitis. I did see that he returned to strength and conditioning workouts again, but I think by the time he gets back, the series may just in fact be over. But game 1 of the series, Uncle Dave, Boston, absolutely took care of business, and they looked like the favorites coming out of the Eastern Conference for a reason. It was a 30 some odd point victory for them. I'm trying to find the box score there.
32.
Yeah, 32-point victory there. Jaylen Brown scores 26 for the Boston Celtics. But I thought I told you in this game, Uncle Dave, that Jason Tatum, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard, when they combined, I think it was 5 of 23 from beyond the arc. You probably would have thought this would have been a closer game than it was. But back at it tonight, I think I'm going to keep this simple. I think Boston gets it done again. What are your thoughts on Celtics and the Sixers here?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to go the other way. I mean, I look at the total and it's close to 15.5 in game 1. It's 216.5 now, but yet it went under. So why are people thinking it's going to go over? I mean, I'm not so sure. I mean, let's break it down. Are the Celtics going to score 123 points again? Probably not. Is Philadelphia going to score 91 again? probably. 14 and a half is an awful lot to give a team. And you just kind of got to wonder what Philadelphia's, what their mindset is, I guess. I mean, are they kind of mentally playing golf already? Are they kind of not? Um, it's hard to say, but I'm thinking that they are. I mean, I think that they know they're not going to win this series. So, if there's going to be a game they want to come out with some focused effort, it's going to be tonight. But, the last two times the Celtics were huge underdogs, they covered anyway. They were 17 and a half against New Orleans, won by 26, and 17 and a half against the Bucks, won by 32. So it's really pretty hard to get me to want to take those 14 and a half points with Philadelphia. Now, what's a little odd is, well, when they were 17 and a half against the Pelicans, the money line was minus 2,500. When they were 17 and a half against the Bucks, it was minus 2,000. But it's only minus 1,000 now. So if you want to look at it that way, there's a lot of value in the Celtics money line because they're not going to lose this game. I mean, I guess the question is, are they going to cover? I don't know that I could go either way. I mean, that is an awful lot of points. Let's face it. I can't lay them. I can't take them. I look at the first half. Maybe I could get behind Philadelphia in the first half. Maybe they come out with some sort of effort. Maybe Boston's a little slack, figuring, yeah, this is over. But I'm going to look at the total. I think it stays under again. Again, it stayed under last time with a 32-point win. I mean, that's kind of hard to do. But I think the Celtics defense is just too much for what's left of the 76ers. So I would be inclined to take the under here.
Yeah, I think that like a Sixers team total under would probably be the look that I would have as well in this game. That 4 of 23 that the shot from beyond the arc maybe corrects itself, maybe back at home, but Boston, I know what they're capable of doing offensively. I feel like their defense is not talked about enough. I know they don't have the likes of Jrue Holiday and at least of Porzingis that gave you some type of rim protection there as well, but they're still a very good defensive team. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if they scored 120 plus points tonight on Tuesday in game 2 here. Especially getting better shooting nights from at least from beyond the arc from Jason Tatum and Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happened again. So I'm expecting a similar result here. I think it should be another blowout victory here for the Boston Celtics. You mentioned it's hard to make a case for this Sixers team taking the points here. I think what would have to happen is that they had a really good night shooting from beyond the arc, and Boston just didn't show up. But I just don't think that's happening here for this Boston Celtics team. I think they want to make this a sweep. I think they wanted to get it done as fast as possible, get their guys rest, and look forward to the conference semifinals there. So I would look at Celtics team total over, and I would lay it here with the Boston Celtics. 14.5 right now is a number against the Sixers. We'll go to the Western Conference, 8:10 Eastern start time. The Portland Trailblazers, they are going to be in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. Currently, as it stands, the Spurs are a 11 to 11.5 point favorite in this game. The total of 219.5. Not much on the injury report, again, for either one of these teams here, but Victor Wembanyama, the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year award, which was announced yesterday, had a fantastic game 1 for the San Antonio Spurs there. Going back to look at it on Sunday, had a 111-98 victory there. They barely get the cover in that game, but they did cover. The game does go under the total. Denny Avdia for the Portland Trailblazers finished the game with 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then for the San Antonio Spurs, Uncle Dave, you had 4 of the 5 starters that were in double figures, as I mentioned, led by Wemby, who had 35 points for the San Antonio Spurs. But here they are, game 2 right now. As I mentioned, 11 to 11.5 is a number for the Spurs. What are your thoughts on game 2 between the Blazers and the Spurs?
Yeah, a tough one. I mean, you look back at game 1, and I don't want to say the game was essentially over at the end of the first quarter, but it was never close after that. So it's really hard to sort of know what to expect here, right? I mean, they were catching 12.5. Now they're only catching 11.5. So, the total was 222.5. Now it's 220.5. I don't think both of those are right. I'm inclined to lean towards Portland here, right? I mean, they only lost by 13. They were very competitive for the final 3 quarters. And I'm inclined to think that the game goes over. I mean, if you look at the stats in the first game, Portland only shot 42%, 26 from behind the arc. The Spurs did what they do, 47%, 45% from behind the arc. And is that 45% sustainable? I'm not sure it is. And they were only the Blazers only took 12, and the Spurs only took 19 free throws. I would almost half expect that to regress. And Avdija was about the only one that did much for the Trailblazers. I suspect he gets a little more help tonight, and I also suspect that Wemby's buddies there do more because he did kind of carry them. But they did get to shave off some minutes. But I think I would like the underdog here and the over. I mean, I think Portland has to come into this with a little bit of confidence, knowing that they played them basically even for the final three quarters. And I don't think Portland could shoot much worse. So I think that Portland on the side, and I think the game goes over. I mean, it didn't stay under by that much last time. I mean, it was 210, 209, whatever. I think had that game been more competitive, it might have been higher scoring. And because I expect tonight's game to be a little more competitive, I'm inclined to like the over here as well.
Yeah, I think that one guy that will step up here tonight in a bounce back spot for the Trailblazers is I'm looking at Jrue Holiday. I've been a huge fan of him all throughout his career. But he was just 4 of 15 from the floor in game one, 9 points, did have 4 rebounds and 11 assists. And I think that what you mentioned about the 3-point shooting, that we should see some positive regression for the Portland Trailblazers side of things. As far as the Spurs do go, Wemby, I know Wemby's going to do Wemby things, right? 35 points. He only had 5 rebounds, but it was really balanced rebounding for that entire team. They were +7 as far as rebounding goes against the Blazers in game one there. And you're going to get contributions from Fox, Vassell, and Stephon Castle. So I think that the script is there, or the formula is there, or the blueprint, I should say, is there for the Spurs team. Is that, yeah, let Wemby do his thing, but he's going to get support from at least from Fox, Vassell, and Castle, which makes me all nervous about the other side of things, that were Denny Avdia, who's been their star player all throughout the season, and in game one, that somebody else outside of him needs to step up. And maybe, the lack of playoff experience for some of these guys on the Trailblazers side, it may factor into it at some point, maybe even down the stretch where every possession does matter. But I think that I really want to believe in the Blazers here. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept this game close. As far as the total, I really don't have a feel on it. I mean, you mentioned a lot of great points about it. Potentially could get over here tonight. This was one of the games that I did struggle. But if you had a gun to my head, I would take the points here with the Blazers. I don't love this game here, but again, I'm not going to have action on every single game here at least for game two, between the Spurs and the Blazers. Last game of the night will be the Houston Rockets. They are in LA to take on the Lakers. Rockets right now laying 4.5 points in this game. A total of 206.5. And Uncle Dave, the big story, of course, in this game and this series was the injury that Kevin Durant sustained in practice trying to dive for a loose ball, or not dive, or go after a loose ball, and collided knees with a teammate, which injured his knee and kept him out for game one. He was out there for warm-ups in game one, but I don't know if it was caution or whatever the case might have been. He didn't play in game one. Officially, he's going to be a game time decision for game two here tonight between these two teams. But I mean, he was a player that was healthy all season. Here it comes to the playoffs, and he misses game one. And the Rockets lose game one, 107-98. And I did see Luka back at practice for the Lakers, but he is not going to be playing in this game here tonight. And again, we'll wait the status of one Kevin Durant. But Uncle Dave, what are your thoughts on this matchup, game two, as the Rockets are a rare road favorite, -4.5 against the Lakers here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they opened -5.5 in the last game, closed -2.5 once everything kind of came out. And
Yeah.
I'm afraid to go out on a limb too far at 11:19 a.m. Eastern time, not knowing who's playing and who's not. I mean, even if I had told you Luke Kennard would be by far the Lakers' leading scorer in the last game, you probably would have laughed at me. But they got decent production from their bench. I mean, from their starters, very little from their bench, right? So I mean, we kind of know the Lakers are a little thin at the bench, and I could say the same thing about Houston. I mean, their starters played a ton of minutes. I mean, about the only reserve that came in and did anything was Eason. So it's a tough game to handicap. I mean, if I'm being honest, I have to say it probably stays under again.
Yep.
Just with Houston's ability to play defense, the Lakers missing Luka, that's going to slow the pace down. So if I have to bet this game, I don't think I could touch a side. Knowing who's actually going to put shoes on tonight. I like the under again, probably quite a bit, really. I mean, I don't know who I would look to for a prop, but there has to be some positive regression in both benches. Um, I mean, Thompson only had 17 points for the Rockets, and I probably would have been wrong. I probably would have taken his over, knowing Durant wasn't going to be there. But I have to, without trying to find words and kill time, I have to think this stays under again. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is about or defense for the Rockets is at the forefront. And when you don't have Luka or and even Austin Reeves out there for the Lakers team, that I think their defense just gets better by default there, just because those guys are typically excuse me, traffic cones out there for the Lakers. I do expect Reed Sheppard to have a better shooting night. I mean, 6 of 20 from the floor, 5 of 14 from beyond the arc, Uncle Dave. That's not going to get it done. And it's difficult to see any team, frankly, if you're not going to be able to score 100 plus points here tonight. And as you mentioned, it's really difficult to handicap this game at the time we're doing this pod, especially while not knowing if Kevin Durant is playing here tonight or not, right? He's worth about 3 points to the line, as so it was indicated when he did get ruled out in game one for this Rockets team. I think that LeBron is still going to do LeBron things. He had 19 points, but more so I'm looking at his rebounds and assists, right? First game, he had 21 rebounds and assists combined. I think that's something that he can continue doing. Of course, in the absence of Luka for this Lakers team, he turns into the more the facilitator. And again, they did a very good job, like you mentioned, right? All five starters were in double figures for the LA Lakers. They had all five starters scoring 14 or more points. I think that's what they're going to need. The bench is very, very thin for this Lakers team. I think that could be their demise going forward in this series here. So again, like you mentioned, we don't know the status of Kevin Durant. As they said, it's a true game time decision. But if he doesn't play here tonight, Uncle Dave, let me see for the Lakers side of things. We know that Luka's going to be out for sure. I would still go back to LeBron's rebounds and assists to go over here tonight. If we do think that it's going to be a defensive game, there should be rebounding opportunities, but I think those assist opportunities are still going to be there for a guy like LeBron, who's going to be, running the offense and having the ball in his hands for a majority of the game. He played 38 of the 48 minutes in game one for this Lakers team. So I think that's something that continues. I think one thing I'll be looking out for here tonight is if the Rockets can improve from beyond the arc in this game, where they did go just 11 of 33 from beyond the arc. And I think more so from Reed Sheppard in this game, and Jabari Smith, who was 3 of 9. So those guys were combined of 8 of 23 from beyond the arc in that game one. So again, I don't have much for side or total here, again, without knowing the status of Kevin Durant, but props, as I mentioned, LeBron rebounds and assists to go over. And then maybe look at a Reed Sheppard 3-point prop to go over here tonight. He still did make 5 of his 14 that he attempted. I'm not sure if that same volume will be there, but I do think that he'll still play significant minutes here tonight for the Rockets team. And I think that if it's 3.5 on his the 3-point prop, I would still take the over on that. You have anything else for Lakers and the Rockets?
No, I'm not gonna speculate without knowing who's gonna play, i.e. Durant. I mean,
Yep.
you'll know based on the line move because it will move. So I guess I think the line's going to go up. So if you think he's going to play now is better than later. If you like the Lakers and you think he's going to play later is better than now.
Yeah, I do see props listed for Durant on DraftKings right now, Uncle Dave. So take that for what it's worth. But again, it's the NBA. We've seen crazier things happen. But as I mentioned, Reed Sheppard, 3+ 3-pointers made tonight, sitting at -127 for the Rocket side of things. All right, before we get to best bets on this episode, again, just want to remind everybody to get over there, pregame.com. Do us a favor and use that promo code HIT20, HIT20. You get 20% off of anything, including already discounted subscription packages for the MLB All Access and for the season there. And as I've mentioned, you want to get on the season-long packages because it gives you a bigger sample size on what pregame pros are able to do. I know sometimes people just want the daily best bet package or a weekender. If you are familiar with sports betting and know about sports betting, is that you need a large enough sample size when it comes to picking games, right? And I think that the best value is always on getting a season long best bet package. But again, you could get additional money off of that if you use that promo code HIT20 over there at pregame.com. It'll knock off 20% off of an already discounted price right now over there at pregame.com. So do us a favor if you want to support the pod, use that promo code HIT20 HIT20 at pregame.com. Uncle Dave, I know we quickly had yesterday ran through the baseball card. I haven't looked much into it, I'll be honest, at least for today. Has anything stuck out to you before we do get to best bets for MLB?
Stuck out? No. I mean, I'm looking at several games, but I think the one that I find the most interesting is the Reds and Rays. I'd have been wrong on that last night, but tonight you got Chase Burns and Steven Matz, and Matz has been kind of beast mode. Uh, I don't know where he came from. Well, I do know where he came from, but unexpectedly. But he's done it for 4 games, so I expect it to continue. And Burns for the Reds, he's also been, I guess we could call it beast mode as well. I mean, his whip so far this season is like 1.03 and 1.07 and 4 starts. I don't expect either team to score an awful lot of runs, so I'm a huge fan of the first 5 under there. Um, and I am a slight fan of the Reds. Let's call it 1-1 after 5. The Reds have actually the best bullpen in baseball right now, ERA wise, and the Tampa Bay Rays do not. Let's just leave it at that. So I kind of like the first 5 under, and I think Cincinnati gets in the win column tonight. Other games, there's a pretty big breeze blowing out in Kansas City again. Um, I don't know that Baz and Bubik can duplicate what Bradish and Lugo did last night. So I think we see some runs in there. I mean, the market is kind of telling me under. It was 9, kind of juiced over earlier. It's 9 juiced under right now. I'm inclined to disagree with that, mainly because I can see a scenario where something happens like it did last night, where both starters went deep, gave up little to no runs, and obviously in an extra inning game like that, both bullpens are trashed. So I do think that game probably goes over. The Red Sox and Yankees, that's always a show. Don't have a lot of faith in Luis Gil right now. Have more faith in Early. Don't like that he's left-handed. The Yankees tend to crush those guys, but I would be inclined to take the Red Sox at home in that one. And those are a few that I don't know if they jumped off the page at me. I haven't bet any of them yet, but those are ones that I think have a possibility. The Cardinals and I want to say the Dolphins, the Marlins. Um, Tough one. Here's our boy Dustin May again. He looked pretty bad the first start or two, and he's looked pretty great the last couple.
Yeah.
So my inclination was to fade him, and that's kind of what the market's doing. Um, and Paddock has been sort of, I guess I'd say, well above average. He's kind of a fly ball pitcher, but he's in the right park to do it because that park holds fly balls big time. I know they minimized it this year, but it's still a pitcher's park. So I'm kind of inclined to like that under. The Neither offense has seen neither starter much at all. So I know the market's kind of looking at the over. I think that's because of May and what he had done. But what he is doing is he's pitching pretty well. So my knee-jerk reaction would be to take Miami. But I have a little bit of faith in May. I think he's probably coming back, maybe not to what he was with the Dodgers, but back to reality. I mean, he was a Double-A pitcher for a year and a half, and so I lean Dodgers. I lean Dodgers. Here we are. I haven't traded May yet. I lean Cardinals, and Miami was kind of trendy for a little while. Now they're under 500. The Cardinals are actually over 500. So I think maybe the early market going to Miami is wrong. So I kind of lean Cardinals there a little bit. And I guess that's about it. All I got for you right now.
Yeah, I didn't have much, as I mentioned, for the MLB. The one game I was looking at, but again, I mentioned this on the pod last week, was the Guardians coming off of a loss. After a loss, they're 8-1 straight up in that following game. But the only part that does make me nervous is that Parker Messick is going to start here tonight for the Guardians against the Astros, and he's coming off of a game where he had taken a no hitter into the ninth, and he's threw 112 pitches. So I tend to shy away from backing those type of pitchers in the next start. But that was at least the first one that I had looked at least for the MLB card there. But as Uncle Dave mentioned, games all throughout the day or all throughout the night, I should say, for the MLB there. But we'll wrap it up more for the MLB. I know I mentioned this to Uncle Dave that we have all summer to talk about the MLB, and right now it's the NBA playoffs there. But we'll try to mix it in the best as we can for the MLB. All right, Uncle Dave, let's wrap it up here with best bets for this episode. I'll let you lead it off. Where are you taking us for your best bet?
Why do you always put me on the hook first?
Because I don't know. It's just been working for us.
Because it flows better. Go for it.
It flowed no, but it's been working, right? I feel like as soon as we switch it up, and if I go first, we're gonna start losing, and then all of our hard work.
I get it. How many games have the Mets lost in a row? Like a lot.
11.
Yeah, I think they get off the schneid tonight, but I don't trust their bullpen. I do trust Nolan McLean. He hasn't gone less than 5 innings. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs. He's only given up 1 home run. That was in their opener against the Pirates, and he struck out 8 or more 3 of those 4 times. He's never walked more than 2. The Twins have never ever sort of seen him, so I think I won't go out on a limb and say they'll win the game, but I think they'll win the first 5 innings. I don't know how that doesn't happen, to be honest with you. Well, I mean, it's the Mets, so I guess I can't really say that, can I? But I'm pretty confident the Mets are ahead after 5 innings tonight. The Twins offense is really borderline anemic.
Yeah, I feel like people are going to look at that 11 game losing streak for the Mets and just bet the other side. I think we had mentioned this on the pod yesterday that FanDuel have put up a Mets next win market. I think game 1 against the Twins was a favorite at -190. Then it trickled down from there to like plus 290 and beyond. But you mentioned, right? It's their best chance with their best pitcher, at least in the first 5 innings. And hopefully they're able to get off of the snide here tonight for the full game there. But at least first 5 innings for the Mets here tonight against the Twins. I'm gonna stick with player props. I feel like this is where I really hit my stride as far as player props do go, because I know number one, injury reports, and I know minutes played by some of these guys are going to be significant, especially being in a desperate situation. And we talked about it with the Blazers and the Spurs. And I'm going to go to Jrue Holiday, points, rebounds, and assists to go over the number of 25.5 at -123 right now, currently over on DraftKings. And as mentioned in game 1, he had a pretty bad shooting night, right? And I think that's something that's going to positively regress here for Jrue Holiday. But I also know he's the guy that can get me rebounds. And obviously, being the starting point guard of that team, I know he's going to get the assist as well. Last in game 1, he did go under this projection of 26.5. That's projected here for tonight. Or sorry, 25.5 is the official number on a really bad shooting night. But he had 11 assists. He had 4 rebounds in that game there as well. But I do think that he'll have a better shooting night. I think the assists are still going to be there for him. I feel like the rebounds are still going to be there for him as well here. So, and coming off a game where he did play 36 minutes, I still think that he's going to play again 35 plus minutes here tonight in a spot where if the Blazers want any chance of, I'm not going to say win the series, Uncle Dave, but at least to make it a competitive series and maybe send it back to Portland, at least tie it up, they're going to need Jrue Holiday to step up next to Denny Avdia here tonight. So I have full faith in him. Again, one of the best and most underrated two-way players. But I do think that he gets over his PRA here tonight, points, rebounds, and assists. And that number is currently 25.5 over on DraftKings. It's 26 plus. They only have one-way markets now for it. So it's 26 plus at -123 right now, currently over on DraftKings. So I'll say with a player prop again, best bet, Jrue Holiday, PRA, 26 plus points, rebounds, and assists combined here tonight in game 2 against the San Antonio Spurs. All right, that's going to do it here for this edition of Cash That Ticket podcast on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed. Uncle Dave, anything else for our listeners before we continue our Tuesdays?
I think I'm tapped out on information. I went through that baseball card kind of off the top of my head fairly quickly. That little monologue kind of drained me a little bit. So I'm just going to pray that everybody makes sound bets and has their bankroll intact tomorrow.
Yep, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, and I'll dig into the MLB card, see if I can come up with something. But I think my focus right now is definitely on the NBA. All right, we'll be back tomorrow to talk more NBA playoffs. We'll sneak in a little bit more MLB as well. But till then, good luck with your bets here tonight, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.